Okay, welcome back, guys. This is lesson 3.1. This is the second part of the GameKeeper and our first project. We're going to be focusing today now on the triangle button. So when I click on triangle, you'll see that it loads up with a simple little screen that has two fields with which we can enter in some data, A and B, representing the two sides of the triangle, A and B. It then has a button that we click hypotenuse that will calculate the length of the hypotenuse depending on whatever we put in to our values for A and B. After that, it'll do a sum all button, which means it'll sum the value of A, B, and C. Now, if you've forgotten how to do an interface design like that, how to set up with a picture, how to have the text boxes and the fields and all that kind of stuff look nicely, go back and review the Batman utility projects because I do just explain all that. As I said before, the GameKeeper project is far more about the code. Okay, so I've given you all of that ready. When we click on these little guys, it sends us back to our main project. So I'm going to stop my code running right now, and we're going to click on our triangle code, and we're going to click on view code. Okay, so I've got my code ready right now. Okay, so in this project, you will see that we've got the code set up for the hypotenuse button. We've got the code set up for the sum button, but we've also going to have two extra modules. Okay, so we're going to create some functions and some modules this time so that the data is retrieved by the button and sent to another module where the module figures out our solution for us. Okay, so here's what my first module is going to look like. What my first piece of code is going to look like. It's set in the button that's the hypotenuse, which, I'll close that one, we don't need that open anymore. Open up my triangle, which is referring to this button just here, the hypotenuse one. Okay, so basically, whenever I take data from this text box and this text box, which are named txt A and txt B, click on the hypotenuse, it's going to populate the field txt C, so the text box is in C. When I click on the sum all button, it'll populate the field that's the txt sum. Okay, and these buttons, BT and hypotenuse, BT and sum, make sure you're familiarizing yourself with the names of each of those. Okay, so what we're going to do, the first thing is assign the value of the side C label to be the result of the hypotenuse function. The two past reference, smaller, the two past reference values are then put into the text field sides A and B, A and C. Now, when we write this code, we'll probably see a little error saying our hypotenuse function doesn't exist, and that's because we haven't obviously coded it just yet. So this is where it's going to go once we've finished it, but we're going to code it directly into this section here. So you've seen other functions such as, convert to integer and convert to different things. They're functions that already exist. We're going to create our own function, okay? And that function there is going to be called hypotenuse. And that function is going to take in two values and will return the value that is the hypotenuse of it. Okay, so here's how we write our first two summed values. Just set this one up for me. Okay, and I've got a double. Now, you might be wondering why it's not an integer. We choose, not capital, sorry. We choose a double because it will allow a little bit of leeway. So, things like a hypotenuse, if we don't have perfect value sides, it's going to create a value with a decimal point likely to be needed. So that's what we're going to focus on. So this one, we're going to create a double called side A, and we're going to convert the value that's in the txt text box and store it in the value side A. Then we're going to do the same thing for side B. So side B is going to be the txt B text box value. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is call a hypotenuse function. So I'm going to add in a few more comments because I've tidied up now just to help you guys remember. So we're going to call the hypotenuse function. Now, call means use or access. Oops, help if I spelled hypotenuse. Call the hypotenuse function and populate, fill the result in the text box that we need. Okay, obviously that's going to be C. So in our txt-c text box, we want the text to be the result, so converted back to a string, because when we do the calculations, it's got to turn them into a double so it can do the concept of 3 plus 4, or 3 squared plus 4 squared equals, and so forth. But it can't then print it back unless it's been turned back into a string again. So we've got to convert it into a string. Now, we don't want to do, a squared plus b squared plus c squared here. We just want to have the result of our hypotenuse function. Okay, so hypotenuse with our two values, side A and side B. Okay, now, as I said before, we do have an error, oh, not button, sorry, that must have been an auto thing then. Okay, we do have an error. It's saying hypotenuse. It doesn't know what that means because I haven't created the program yet. So it's okay. We're going to create that right now in a minute. But we just need to finish off something else first. So the last one is after we have worked out our hypotenuse, we want to tell the user where they can go to next. Okay, so what we're going to do is after they've worked out the hypotenuse, we want the feature to then start to point towards these ones being available. Okay, so and to let the cursor be moved to that. So we're going to go activate the end focus on the sum button. Okay, so we want btn sum dot visible equals true, and we want btn sum dot focus. Now, if you've forgotten what that means, it simply means make the cursor highlighted on that. Oops, I mean to push page down then. Sorry, btn focus. So highlight that button. So that's the one we're about to use. Okay, so we've still got our error because it's asking. It says it doesn't know what this hypotenuse thing is. So we're going to create it ourselves now. Okay, so I'm going to scroll here. So it's got the hypotenuse function has two parameters that are both doubles. Okay, so we're taking in two parameters, side A and side B. All right, let's create our first function. Oops, and that's going to be a double function because we've got to return the result of a double, and it's going to be called hypotenuse. Double hypotenuse, and it's going to take in two values that are the format doubles as well. Okay, open our new braces brackets. Okay, so basically the error right now is saying, so that one you can see has disappeared, but this one is now saying, basically it says I don't know what to do. Okay, you created me, but I have no purpose. It's kind of a pointless thing to show because obviously we haven't done it yet, but we're going to do it nonetheless. All right, first thing we need is an integer, which we're going to call POW, standing for power. So integer power equals 2. Okay, next one we need is give you the instruction, which is determine. Okay, that error, by the way, just says that we haven't used power either, so that's fine too. Determine the result and send back the response. Okay, all right, here we've got, so return. So it's taking in these two values now, and it's going to return a response. So we need math.sqrt, standing for math.square root. Now we also need the math power. So if you remember just the formula for Pythagorean theorem, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But if you're just working out the c, you need to have the square root of all of the a squared plus b squared. So I've got the square root of math.power of side a squared. So that power representing the 2 that we've got here. So that's the first one. Okay, plus math.power side b power. Okay, and close that bracket off, and that's done. So we've got a squared plus b squared, and take the full square root of all of that response and return it when this function is called. So it says side a squared plus side b squared, square root of all of that, convert that to a string, and you get text C. All right, we don't appear to have any errors, so let's play and test our first code. Okay, I click on triangle, I'll just type in something that we know. You probably know that 3 and 4 will create it. I click on hypotenuse and you can see that it's calculated that now to be 5, and it's also sent the focus to that sum all. You see the sum all became highlighted. I can change it again and click hypotenuse and it will calculate different values for me, okay, and it will work nicely each time. Okay, so let's stop that one. All right, now we could do the next task effectively the same way, but as you know, I try to show different ways of doing similar things, just so you can choose your own, methodical way of, what type of coder are you, which way do you prefer to do different sorts of codes and so forth. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to create data, but the result won't be sent back. So you can see this time with the hypotenuse, it worked out the answer and it returned the value back to the original calling function of here. This time, what we're going to have in our function is it's just going to change the value response. So basically it's going to have, in this situation, it would be updating txtc from that point. So here what we're going to do is we're going to update the sum value, and it's going to automatically change what's in the sum text box by using another function in a slightly different way. But this time, instead of calling just two values, 1 and 2, it's going to call 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3, and it's going to answer that sum function there. Okay, let's get ready for this one. So I've got a double, similar structured code to the first one. I need a double for it to store all of those values. So I've got convert to double, so store, take in the text value of what's in txt text and store it into side A. Oops, no one. Okay, and copy that again to 3, but we want B, C, B, C. So I've retrieved all of my 3 values, and I'm going to create a new function this time. It's going to be called sum all. So this time, what I want is send the function sum all with the values side A, side B, and side C. Okay, now, hopefully you've oops, that's a capital S there, that's not right. Hopefully you recognize why that issue has occurred, simply because that this is a function that the program does not recognize, doesn't know what that function actually is. Okay, don't worry too much about this right now, I'm just creating some simple brackets. All right, so now we need to create our sum all function. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to create another double function because we're going to have double values. Sum all, and I need to retrieve 3 values. In this case, I'm just going to call them A, B, and C. Oops. Double B. Oh, that didn't work out very well. Double B, double C. All right, open our brackets. All right, so now I've got my sum all function working. Double A, double B, double C. Oops, that's got the lower uppercase one. There you go. Okay, I'm going to put in a bunch of comments this time as well, so you guys can just see what's going into most of these codes. So the first one, basically we're going to sum all the 3 integers or double values. Okay. Next one is going to be convert the solution to a string, to a string apparently, to a string, and send directly to text box, not to the original calling argument. Okay, so as I said, this time it's just going to update the text box directly. So in this project, in this function, you won't see return. You'll see txt something dot text equals. Okay, so we're going to just update the value directly. All right, so let's do the first thing. Let's verify that all of the values were actually above 0, because we want to make sure that we've got a triangle that actually has 3 positive values. If it doesn't have positive values, then it's not going to be able to work out anything. Okay, so simply put, if A is greater than 0 and B greater than 0 and C greater than 0, and then we can do our function. And what we want to have is txt sum dot text equals convert dot to. Hopefully you're already figuring this out, that we need it to be a string, otherwise it won't show us the answer. And we want to have A plus B plus C. All right, now sometimes when you create a function, okay, it does want you to return something, okay, but because we haven't sent the data anywhere, we've just updated the text field, we can just say return 0, so return nothing. Okay, and if you don't put that in, sometimes it might just say your function doesn't return anything, which is just not helpful. So basically, it's just a compiler issue. Okay, and that should be it for all of the code. I'll just test it and show you that we've got everything working now, hopefully. We've got, scroll down, that goes up and down. We click on our triangle. I put in a 4, put in a 3, click on the hypotenuse. I've got a 5. When I do 4 plus 3 plus 5 by hitting sum all, I now get 12. I can change my values and I can keep updating them each time. If you want to make it a bit more interesting so that when you click on the hypotenuse, the sum button automatically updates as well, you're more than welcome to go and do that. It should allow you to take decimal values as well, because we've accounted for double variables. Okay, so once more time, here's the summary of the code. In our button hypotenuse code, I've got 2 doubles being created to store the 2 text variables. The text as level C or side C is the result of the hypotenuse function with those 2 parameters set. Then I send the focus to the next one. The parameters for the hypotenuse function and the hypotenuse function created were created as a double with our square root and our power functions used to construct them. So the a squared plus b squared, and the square root of that equals our returned value. For the sum button, we simply collected all 3 values, turned them into doubles, sent all 3 doubles to our sum function. The sum function then checked that they were all above 0 and added them together and put them into the text box as a result. Okay guys, so that's the end of 3.1. Please make sure you've attempted that lesson, and any problems, just let me know.